Welcome to Friday's devotional. We are in Exodus 29, the consecration of the priesthood. Throughout this chapter, God tells Israel what to do in order to consecrate the priests, in order to ordain them. And so there is a lot of blood involved, of sacrifice. There's wheat flour, loaves, there's oil involved, there's ritual washing, there's clothing involved. There's one thing that stood out to me a decade ago when I really looked at this passage, and that is when Aaron and his sons lay their hands on the head of the sacrifice. This involvement, this little bit of connection and intimacy with what was going on. A lack of distance. They had to face it. And it goes on from there and discusses in specifically verse 20 that they are to put some of the blood on the lobes of the right ear, on the thumbs of the right hand, on the big toes of the right feet, splash blood against the altar, and to take some blood from the altar and sprinkle it on them and their garments. This is a part of the consecration of the priesthood. It is not particularly clean. And I honestly can't imagine the scent and the feeling, the physical reality of this event, the sobriety that this must have caused, the weight of it. And so I would like to again bring back the priesthood of Aaron to the priesthood of Christ. Notice these elements of consecration. That they are to share loaves without yeast. That they are to be washed in water. That they are to become dressed anew. Where do we hear these spiritual elements? But that we get to take part in this priesthood. That we get to eat the bread of Christ, that we get to be baptized in the water, that we get to be made anew and wear new clothes, that we are anointed. And so this passage is stark in that we also have an atoning sacrifice. And it's not one that we should be distant of. I can't imagine what being washed in the blood of the Lamb actually means. What if we felt it? What if we could smell it? What if we were actually made aware of what an abundant covering of Christ's blood meant? Not just the warm spiritual elements, but the cost. Again, at the end of this passage, God reminds them that this is to be a regular occurrence for a long time to come. But God also says that because of all of this, He will consecrate the tent of meeting and the altar and Aaron and his sons. He will do this. Then He will dwell among them and be their God. They will know that I am the Lord their God. And let us not forget this element of our own consecration. That it is not just to save us, that it is not just so that we could somehow miraculously become innocent, but it is so that God could dwell with us. God could dwell in us. That we could be called children of God. That He would call us His. So, Lord, I pray that we would more and more begin to understand what your holy work in us is. That we would feel the grandeur of it, the cost of it, the importance of it, and the power in it. And Lord, above all else, thank you that we get to call you ours and that you call us yours.